No matter the role or industry that you're in, you have probably heard the term project management. If you're still wondering what is project management, well, you're about to find out. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I'm going to share with you how you can get your hands on a very special free guide on why and how to ensure your projects don't fail. Hi, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Adriana Girdler, and on this channel, you're going to get the best practical project management advice coming to you every week. So please consider subscribing to this awesome community. So if you want to know what is project management, let's get to it. Project management explained. Project management is a process that guides teams to ensure that they reach their deliverables and their goals. All businesses rely on projects because, again, if you're not doing your service or your related activity to your services or your product, you're probably doing something from a strategy standpoint, which is a project or an initiative. And again, that has project framework associated with it. Project, just so you know from a definition standpoint, is we're looking that it has a definitive start, a definitive end. There's usually tasks associated with the goal that you're trying to deliver. And you usually bring about other subject matter experts together to help you accomplish those goals. Now, when you're in project, when you're doing project management, you bring in specific skills and tools, and as I said earlier, subject matter experts. There's definitely documentation you have to look at and some really good specific techniques to ensure that you are remaining on scope, time, and budget. That is really important when it comes to projects, is you want to ensure that you're always delivering what you're supposed to be delivering and that expectations are constantly being met. So what are some project examples? Well, a really good one is new software. So software companies constantly doing new projects, construction, if you're building a house. Sometimes organizations will have new initiatives internally that they're trying to do. It could be like a new process or a way of working that the whole organization has to be aware of. That becomes a project. How about a product launch? That becomes a project. Pilot concept and testing, those are projects. So that just gives you an idea how wide the gamut of projects really are. Again, what I said earlier, start, finish, bringing in subject matter experts. You have specific tasks that are leading you to an overall goal and a deliverable. You don't have to call them projects. You can call them initiatives, you can call them activities. It's all the same thing. So it's really important that you understand what exactly is a project. Now, if you're really liking what you're hearing so far, oh my goodness, it would help me out so much. Give it a like. I really would appreciate it, and it really will help more people get this video. So thank you. The core components of project management. So you really need to have an understanding as to why you're doing this project. That becomes a justification, background information. You also want to have a very clear idea of what the risks are, assumptions. You need to manage those. A lot of documentation is associated with this so that you can keep on top of your monitoring and execution. Communication is a really huge thing as well. You're constantly communicating, not only within your project team, but outside of your project team with stakeholders. And that leads to change management. That's a big component of project management as well, particularly when you have a deliverable that is going outside of anyone that you currently were in contact with, like your project team or senior executive sponsorship. If someone else is going to be getting it, then you need to have change management around there. So there is a very strict discipline and very specific tools associated with that, which does help from a core competency perspective. So just think of those things like your scope statement and your charter and the justification and your communication and change management and risk. All of that stuff really makes up the core components of project management. What the life of a project looks like. What I said earlier on is, remember, a project is a process. So there's a very distinct 5 stages to project management, no matter the methodology that you use, and I'll explain that in a moment. So the 5 stages consist of 1, initiation. This is where you're getting all the information as to why and what you're doing the project. You can really get your scope statement here, and you're working with senior executives and they're helping you out to define a lot of things. The next stage, which is stage 2, is planning. This is where you're figuring out, you're getting your charter, you're figuring out who you need, you're putting a very high level framework of the concepts you're going to be moving forward with, team members, and also a kickoff. Now, the next stage is execution. So execution is just that, you're executing the project plan that you did in the planning stage. Now, this is where I want to get some clarity for you, because I hear words like, or you may have heard words like waterfall project management, agile project management. This is where those methodologies will now come into play. So project management, there's a framework, there's structure to it. Like I'm telling you right now, these 5 stages we're going through. And in this stage 3, execution, is when you start bringing in specific methodology depending on the project that you're working on. So if you're working on software, at this stage, you are going to then bring in agile principles to help execute the build of the software that you're doing. So let me just make sure this is really clear, because this gets confused. You still have to do initiation and you still have to do planning. You still have to do those 2 fundamental stages. But when you're executing your plan, you then can go into a waterfall methodology, an agile methodology, whatever type of project, a hybrid methodology is going to work for you. 4th stage, for sure, is monitoring control. This is where the risk comes into play. You want to make sure that you're addressing all of that stuff. Change management, things of that nature, which is monitoring, controlling, ensuring that you're always going back, having that iteration of tweaking things so that you're always moving forward towards a deliverable. And last but not least is closing. And this gets ironically missed a lot. I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why, because it's paperwork. We all hate paperwork, and we're probably given the next project, so we said, we'll do that later. But don't miss out on this stage, because that's where after action reviews come into play. We call them postmortems as well, where you learn from past projects and or your project workings that you were doing as to what worked well, what didn't work well, so on the next project you don't make those same mistakes. Again, you don't want to be repeating the same issues, right? You want to learn from them. So that closing becomes really important. So that's the framework, that's the life cycle of project management. The importance of project management in organizations cannot be overstated. It is critical to success. You really need to have this framework in order to move strategies and initiatives forward. So don't lose out on it. And on that note, don't lose out on this. It's a free download just for you. Learn what those key mistakes are as to why projects fail, because you don't want that to happen. And guess what? It's free. So definitely check it out. Till the next video. Thanks.